As a business owner, offer owner, practitioner, or entrepreneur, one of the easiest ways for you to increase your profitability is to raise your prices. But the challenge is this: it's not always the client that gets upset. There's usually 2 or 3 parties inside of a company that are the ones that are the holdouts that may get you to pause thinking about why we should raise our prices or why you should raise your prices. Who are they and why does it matter? This is a fantastic question. I'm Scott Sylvan Bell, coming to you live from Consulting Secrets on a perfect day to talk about sales and business and raising prices, and a fantastic day to talk about you. All right, so one of the easiest ways for you to increase profitability, hands down, is to increase your prices. But you may say, hey, Scott, you know, my sales team and all these people are going to have challenges. That's true. So I'm going to give you 3 different ways to work through this through each individual group of people that you're going to struggle with, okay? So first is going to be management. Management is going to come to you and say, hey, if we raise the prices, we're going to have problems. Well, the answer is if we don't raise the prices, we're going to have problems too, and they're probably going to be worse than what you expect. So the prices are going to get raised. And so what you're going to do is you're going to sit down with the management team and you're going to take a whiteboard, you're going to take a piece of poster board, you're going to use sticky notes. And what you're going to do is you're going to map out each step. And each step should be scripted. Anywhere that there's going to be friction, anywhere there's going to be complaints, anywhere there's going to be issues, that absolutely should be scripted. And the reason for it is when you roll this out to the teams, they're going to know, hey, we thought through this process, we thought through this conversation, okay? So number 1, the issue you're going to face is management, because they don't want to hear the complaints from the next 2 groups that I'm going to give you. Group number 2 is frontline. Group number 2 is the people who are actually taking the phone calls, taking the inbound emails, taking the inbound chats. And so when you go to them and you have everything scripted and you go, hey, we got everything scripted for you right here. Here's what we're going to do. And here's the kicker. You turn it into a competition. You turn the conversation into a competition because you got to put something in it for them. Now, I'm going to share with you, when you do this and you gamify it, it does help. It's amazing for what it does. For every save that somebody does, you give them X amount of dollars. Let's say $5 or $10. You allow for that client to have their old pricing for 60, 90, 120 days. Like, what you're going to do is you're going to figure out all these objections. And then as this is all mapped out, you're also going to have an escalation plan. When does it need to be escalated to a manager? Not every call is going to go to a manager. It could go to phone center rep, call center rep, to a supervisor, to a manager, whatever the way that you're going to do to save the client. Now, I got to tell you a story. I had a client that had, let's say, 7,500, 8,000 clients that they saw between 2 months. Every other month, they saw about 3,500 to 4,000 clients. And they needed to raise the prices. Well, the biggest push against raising the prices was absolutely the managers. And then they kind of poisoned the call center staff to say, we're not looking forward to this. So there was a year that prices needed to be raised, and they weren't raised because the managers didn't want to field the calls. So on the next opportunity, what we did was we counted and we said, how many people call in, complain about price, and how many cancel? It was roughly about 3% of the population. 2.5% to 3% was what canceled between the months. But the difference was about $14,000 a month in revenue. So we're talking like 160 grand by the time that you space, 170 by the time that you space everything out over 12 months. It was a significant sum. So a little bit of complaining was holding back moving forward. So what the solution was to put this on the calendar. Every year on X date, this is going to happen. So if you're not raising prices to at least what inflation is, then you're losing out year over year over year. That money's being taken from you and you don't even realize it. So you should absolutely, where possible, put this on the calendar and say, on this date, what we're going to do is we're going to raise our price. Okay. And we've already mapped everything out. We've already got the scripts. We've already got if this happens, then that happens. We've got the flow of who's going to talk and how the conversation is going to go. And then the last on this list is going to be the salespeople. And to have this conversation with the salespeople is always interesting because salespeople are sometimes price sensitive. You know, they get caught up in like, hey, your price is too high. That objection is going to happen no matter what the price is, no matter where they go, no matter where they work, they're always going to hear your price is too high. They have to get used to explaining. They're like, if I don't raise my prices, we won't be here to support you, right? That's a management conversation. That's a sales conversation. That is a truth. And there's nothing worse than hearing about an owner who went out of business because they couldn't support the function of the business because they didn't have enough profit. Right? Profit is the lifeblood of a business. And so my challenge for you today is to figure out how you're going to map out raising your price. And then you automatically assume who's going to be the whiners and complainers. And I don't mean this negative. Like, let's just say it for what it is. Let's put the cards on the table. You're going to have whiners and complainers. Part of it's going to be the management team. Part of it's going to be the front line. Part of it's going to be the salespeople. Above and beyond the consumer. Above and beyond your client. But you got to be able to say, hey, listen, if we don't do this, it's not today that we're going to lose. It's into the future that we're going to lose. And if we don't do this, we can't support the clientele base that we have. I remember when my dad was alive and my dad had a company and I worked for him, you know, there was price increases that got done every other year. And part of it was my dad didn't want to have to deal with the complaints of the employees. And so he missed out every other year on revenue. He missed out every other year on that profitability of his company. He did well. He did very well. But, you know, at the end of the day, that continual every year, you're going to see a price increase is a plan that you should really consider every 6 months. I can't tell you what to do. Everybody's got a little bit different business model, but at least once a year on clockwork, March 1st, April 1st, whatever the month happens to be, but like that's scheduled and everybody knows. Like you start talking about it 60 days in advance. Hey, who's on the detail? Who's going to be doing this? What's the competition that we're going to have to save? And if you're going to do a competition in a competition. Meaning this, you have one person who has the most amount of saves. They get their spiff ramped up because every one of those saves that they have is revenue increased for you. Bonus them out, $5, $10, $20. I don't know. There's going to be a number that you're going to pick that's going to work for you. But realize if you're not raising your prices, you're missing out. You got one of three things to do from here. Just one of three. Find the subscribe button, click on it, and every time I send out a video, you'll get an update. 2, hit follow. 3, share this video with a friend. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.